freaking miles! Incredible! You're a badass! Hi, folks. Welcome back to another episode of RunYogi Diaries. This is your host, Santosh Shiva. Every week, I bring you conversations with people who are on a journey of well-being and fitness through endurance sports. I hope they spark some possibility in you, leave you with some tips, and perhaps inspire you to perspire. This episode is also available on leading podcast platforms if audio is your thing. Also, if you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing to it. Hit like if you like this video, and remember to leave your comments. Let us know if you took something away. In the house today is Pradeep Pise, who recently completed an epic 260-mile foot race in the deserts and mountains of Arizona. Isn't that amazing? Prior to it, over the last few years, he's been completing over 40 ultras. This is for someone who started running back in 2010 and then went blank for many years and then came back with a big bang. We speak to Pradeep about why he got started running, what influenced him to keep pushing new limits, how he overcame injury to continue training and pursuing new limits, balancing training with work and family responsibilities, and finally, where he is headed next. Let's dig in. Hi Pradeep, welcome to Run Yogi Diaries.
Thank you very much, Santosh. Thank you very much for having me here.
It's a pleasure. I learned about you through a common friend, and the amazing 250-mile Cocodona adventure you were into, and I was like, wow, is that even possible, right? So I said, hey, we should connect and talk about your journey. So thanks a lot for taking your time.
Absolutely.
So we have a lot to kind of cover and learn from you. But before that, I'll let ask you to maybe do a quick personal introduction, and then we'll jump in.
Sure, sure, absolutely. So, thank you very much, Santosh, for giving me an opportunity to present my story as well. So, I'm Pradeep, based out of Pleasanton Bay Area. Uh, just little bit of background about myself. Originally from India, central India. Born in a small town called Varda. I don't know if most of the folks may not know. It's near Nagpur. And I was born into a much bigger family. I have five siblings, and out of five siblings, my elder brother has been a North Star. So most of my running as well as professional journey would basically be following up with into the footsteps of my brother. So born in Varda, then education has been a very big factor in our family. So I got into engineering, passed out from REC Nagpur, and then I came to US in 2007. And since then, I have been in corporate things. So it's almost 21 years of experience. I'm working with a company called Emphasis, which is into system integration and IT services. I've been leading one of their strategic sales relationship here in the area. So that's just a quick introduction.
Cool. Awesome. So, um, obviously, in the recent past, you've taken on running, and it seems to have become a central theme of your life, and that's how we got connected. So let's kind of do a bit of a flashback here, and kind of tell us about how did running enter your life. You said education, work, and had not done much in your growing years, but how did it all enter? What happened?
Yes, I'll go back to 2010 or 2010 precisely. And that's when I was with a company called Senecron. Wasn't much into traveling that time, but My brother was an ultra marathoner. As I said, I mean, my brother has been a north star for me, and I've been following into his footsteps. So he has been an ultra runner, and I thought. I used to think myself, how could he run marathons, or how could he run all these 100 milers? I just couldn't imagine anyone running 26.2 miles throughout. So back in 2010, he said that, why don't you start running? And I was like 185 pounds. And my parents used to have typical diabetes and few other issues, right? So I thought, let's give it a shot. And I used to live in Dallas at that time, and it was very difficult for me to even cover 2 miles, 2 miles of small loop that was there, very close to my house. And then I did those 2 miles, 4 miles, and got into half marathon. I did my first half marathon, I think back in 2010 or 2011. And then I tried, just after 2 months, I tried full marathon as well. And
Hmm.
I wasn't prepared at that time. I didn't know how I would carry myself over 26.2 miles, and very ill prepared. And I got injured in my first full marathon itself. It
Hmm.
was back in Dallas, and after 2011, I stopped running. I didn't enjoy running that much back then, so I stopped running back in 2011. And again in 2015, my brother came to US, and we did run this 10K, which was in 100 degrees Fahrenheit back in Dallas, and I
Wow.
suffered a lot. I mean, my first half marathon was also in 100 degrees, and I did comparatively well. But this 10K was more of a wake up call for me. I did
Hmm.
finish that 10K in 1 hour and 7 minutes, and that was quite slow for me. And I thought, man, this 10K is really really slow, and it took all out of me. So that was a wake up call, and I thought, my fitness is not up to the mark. I need to get
Hmm.
back to running. And since then, I think that was my second life to running. After that, I haven't looked back, and I got into marathoning and ultra marathoning and so on.
Wow. It looks like you started with some really tough races in terms of environment. 100-degree running is is not is a bit of a sufferfest, and it seems like you handled the worst to start with. So easier. Rest of it probably would have been a little more easier with lower temperatures and cooler weather, right?
Yeah, I think that's how it is in Dallas. So most of the races during summer, temperature would go till 90s or hundreds, and the race apparently is called as hottest half. So you can imagine.
Wow, terrific. So, well, then you said you did the first marathon, and you came back and you revived your running. And did you start with marathon, or did you kind of pivot into ultras right away after
No,
the
so
10K?
yeah, so after that 10K, I did few runs. So what changed in my case was basically joining some of those groups. So I joined one of the group, and I'm still in touch with lots of those runners. The Basically those groups have changed my life after that. So I used to go run at 5 o'clock in the morning, and then I got into half marathons. I did. I don't remember exactly, but in 2015, I think I did one half, and then I did back to back halves as well. I think 20 end of 2015, on that 31st December and 1st of January, I did back to back halves. That gave me quite a bit of confidence. That gave me feeling that I can hold myself for a marathon. And with that running group, I started enjoying my run. So I think that was a game changer for me.
Okay.
And after that, in 2016, I thought, I will try to do one. at least one marathon, and then eventually it became one marathon slash ultra as well. But that gave me a solid base in terms of mileage, as well as I did bunch of varied races back in Texas and all over in US as well. So that was a bit of a game changer for me.
That is true, right? I think the one of the biggest things that most runners probably say is the community aspect of it. When you run in a group, how it supports each other, even and it is a game changer. And I think in your case also, it seems like finding the right group was a game changer,
Absolutely,
right?
absolutely.
And physiologically, so compared to that 2010 experience where you started and then you stopped, where probably because you suffered and it wasn't a very pleasant experience, was there something else that you were doing differently to make it a little bit more interesting?
Not really. I mean, back in 2010, I was just running by myself, and
Hmm.
I didn't know much about running as well. So I struggled with ITB, iliotibial band syndrome, and with ITB, I literally walked last 6 miles in that marathon.
Hmm.
So when I got back into running, I used to follow few routines. For example, before every run, I used to foam roll and I used to warm up, no matter
Okay.
what. And after run, I used to come and again do a little bit of foam rolling. If it is a long run, absolutely, foam rolling was a must. And then I used to cool down and take a walk after long runs as well. So I did quite a few changes, but not. I mean, certainly not anything major other than running with a group, and then I learned a lot while running with lots of these folks. Looking at my form and how to run uphills, and I mean, it has been a learning journey since then. So it's definitely lightning.
Yeah, yeah. Let's talk about that a little bit. First of all, there's gold in there, right? There's gold in there. A lot of folks who have minor injuries, you say it's a minor change, but I think it was a important change, that foam rolling part that you talk about. And I think from a viewer perspective, that's gold. I would write that down. That just the foam rolling before and after, especially if you've had something like ITB or any other nagging injuries, that is a big game changer as well. And I think most of the times in training, these are the small tweaks that give big results, right? And in your case,
Absolutely.
and that and you also mentioned some additional practices that you've taken on, which helped you with the whole journey, right? That you were
Yeah,
doing
yeah, yeah,
differently.
absolutely, absolutely. So after that, as I said, I mean, you tend to learn a lot from your running comrades as well, right? So I have some principles in running too. I don't
Hmm.
take any coaches. So since I started, I thought I would know my body really well. So I should know how to run. And so looking at your form is absolutely important, right?
Hmm.
So looking at your form, managing your cadence. So I focused on my cadence as well. I bought this device called metronome
Hmm.
at that time, and then I was focusing on may not be 90 or 180 steps per minute, but I was trying to get to at least 170 steps per minute. So I focused on metronome and overall running cadence. I tried to shorten my stride length as well. That was also a good thing because I used to get injured and I used to overstride earlier. So that was also something which I learned. But other than that, I think just watching someone run. So I used to watch a lot of YouTube videos as well. I am nowhere close to being an elite, but I used to watch Kipchoge, Bakeli, and all these elite runners, looking at their form and what sort of corrections would I make to my form, right? And of course, I mean, during long runs, you have to focus on your nutrition.
Hmm.
Um, It took me almost 13, 14 marathons just to learn how nutrition works, right?
Mm.
I used to bonk almost in every marathon in the last 6 to 8 miles. So it has been a little bit difficult for me to learn by myself. And of course, I mean, I read few books as well. But running few books rather than reading few books, I think knowing all those things and then implementing it and self-correcting yourself would make more sense as per me.
That is so that's so important. Form. You talked about form, and you talked about cadence. And in my last podcast, I had Danny Dreyer, who's the founder of Chi
Oh
Running,
yeah,
on the show. And I personally gained a lot through Chi Running as a technique, and that talks about Chi, metronome, cadence, and form. And so, did you specifically use any particular method for that, or was it just
that's
by
a very good
yourself?
point. Yeah, that's a very good point. I'm not able to remember each and everything, but you brought in a very good point, Santosh. So chi running definitely helped me as well. There is a gentleman called Jeff who has been a chi running instructor in Dallas. So I took a workshop from him back in 2016 itself through reference from one of my friends, and that changed quite a bit as well as to how you would fall down and how
Hmm.
you would maintain your form and such. So one of the things that I didn't listen to him was basically these Hoka shoes, right? So um, that time I had I mean I didn't have any plantar fasciitis issues and all, but he had mentioned to me that your shoe has to have least minimum heel to toe ratio. And
Hmm.
that time Hoka used to have around 10 of heel to toe ratio, which was quite a big. And even Salomon and some of those shoes have similar type of ratio as well. I didn't listen to him, and I just stuck with my Hokas, Speed Goats, Challengers, and so on. And after a couple of years, I have been struggling with plantar fasciitis. I mean, I've been running with plantar fasciitis since last 2 3 years. I have some ways to mitigate that pain, but that chi running workshop helped me a lot. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And you also mentioned 14 marathons to realize nutrition. So what did you change? I mean, to handle the bonking.
Yeah, so what changed for me was, of course, I mean, you have to have adequate nutrition before you start the race. So I used to, I mean, I never liked gels before, but now I have been using Huma energy gels, and I'm not an ambassador of any of these brands, so take it with grain of salt. So I've been using Humas. I've tried Spring and a few others as well, but so far Humas worked out very well for me. So one gel just before race starts, so maybe 20 minutes or so. I used to eat bananas before, and of course, I mean my portions of breakfast and all, they are much bigger. So you would be amazed at looking at some of my portions. 20 to 30 minutes before one gel, and then when race starts, don't drink anything just before race. I mean, you can drink 2 or 3 hours before so that you can go pee and just be fresh. After race starts, every 30 minutes or so, I used to consume one gel. So at least 100 calories every 30 minutes, and then coupled with water or and every 30 minutes or so, I basically change my routine from, let's say, electrolyte to water. So for with every aid station, I take water and then electrolyte, then water and electrolyte. So that way, I think that worked out really well for me. And without nutrition, it's real. I mean, for me, I usually bonk after 15 or 16 miles. I think that's
Hmm.
how my glycogen depletes. But coming into ultras, that has gone up a little bit more. So after 20 miles or so, I could extend that glycogen threshold. And right now, I think, I mean, I don't train too much on roads, so I don't train much on road marathons, but I'm pretty confident that I can get sub 4 or 3:45 quite easily, even with just ultra training or trail running. So
Mhm.
now I think with ultra running, that helped me a lot in my nutrition.
Yeah, that's terrific. So, talking about ultras, right? So, when did ultras become a thing for you? Were you doing that in parallel to your road marathons, or was it like something you kind of pivoted completely and have gone into ultras? When did that happen?
Yeah, so back in 2016, when I decided I will do at least one road marathon slash after that slash ultra every month. So I did my first ultra back in 2016 May, and I thought I am doing this 26.2 miles, and I did a few trail marathons as well. So when you do trail marathons, your time is usually a little more than road marathons. So I thought probably I will just try my trail marathon or trail ultra. So I tried this Whispering Pines, which is not being held anymore. I think they have changed their name. It had a little bit of elevation gain and I mean it was hot as well. It was in May. So I did quite okay. I mean, I was thinking, how would I do all those extras 10K right after marathon? But I did fairly well. But still, I thought 50K is not a real ultra. 50K was just what is that, 4 or 5 miles more
Yeah.
than that. So then I decided to try a real ultra, and there was a race called Rough Creek Ultra in Dallas, nearby Dallas. I don't exactly remember the town, but that race was quite something. I mean, it did have lots of very very steep hills, and that day temperature was 106 degrees, and
You're an
it was.
expert. You're an expert in running in hot weather. You. It attracts you, I think.
I was an expert. I mean, probably I didn't have any choice because Dallas was usually very hot at that time. So this particular ultra was 40 miles, and it had three loops. I never liked loop trail races because I'm not. I think I'm not that strong mentally, and if I come back to my start location, probably I will DNF. So this trail race was quite interesting. It goes through lots of steep hills and all. So I did that one, and I think I was one of the 10 or 11 finishers that day. It was so hard that out of I think 25 to 30 folks, only 11 or 12 people finished.
Wow.
I walked most of it. I will not deny that. But that gave me a lot of confidence. It took me, I think, around 11 hours and few minutes, 30 or 40 minutes. But that gave me a lot of confidence. After that, I tried 100K, and that 100K went really well. And I felt after that 100K, I felt like it's not even tiring. I mean, I could even go out for a run even after the 100K as well. So after that, I just got hung on to ultra marathons.
So what in your view was different? I mean, you're saying with 100K you weren't wasted as much, but on a marathon in a 26.2, you were bonking. Is it more pace where you kind of more running at a better, a lower heart rate? Is that what was the difference for folks who are listening to this to get a sense?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think pace definitely plays a very big role. So one of the challenge that most of the road runners face while going into ultras, they are not able to. they're not able to basically adjust their pace, right? So they think that they have a time goal. They think that if I have finished a particular marathon in road marathon in 3:30, I should be able to finish this trail marathon in 3:45 or 4, right?
Mm,
But things don't happen like that. You have weather part, you have I mean, you need to have a pretty good ankle stability.
mm,
So most of the it all depends on the trail surface as well, right? I mean, if it is just normal gravel, it's different, but it sucks a lot of your push and responsive force as well. So it's very different, and you need to go with an open mind. So you need to lower your pace a little bit. So going from marathon to ultras, you definitely have to go down a little bit on your pace. And another thing is nutrition, right? So even in marathon, you can't go without nutrition. In ultras, it's absolutely impossible, and it takes a lot of people to learn that through multiple ultras, right?
mm,
So that is another thing. Then third thing is basically getting acclimated with weather too, right? So you're out there for longer period. So for example, in road marathon, if even if it rains or if it gets cold, we consider it as, oh, it's a really bad weather. In trail running, it's absolutely normal. I mean, you run through
mm.
mud or you run through rain or so you have to basically adapt and acclimatize and then improvise. So that
Yeah.
is the strategy that we use in ultras.
Yeah, no, totally agree. I think one point that you called out is definitely a lower intensity of running and ankle strength. You called that out. That's gold there for folks who want to move into trail running. Ankle strength is very important. And I also found that when I switched to ultra, I mean not ultras, but trail running from road running. One of the other things I found was a certain openness to get dirty, in the sense that you
Oh
would
yeah.
see water puddles, and initially I would want to dance around the water puddles and walk or go around it, or if I saw a stream, I would have those mental blocks. But in trail running, you just embrace nature. I found that running through those puddles of water was more fun. And yes, your legs get full of mud, and you're wet, but that's a big difference in mindset also, right? In addition to some of the things you said in moving from road to trail. Now, talking about ankle strength, do you do something specific to strengthen it proactively?
Yeah, absolutely. So as I said, I mean, but you brought in a very good point. To So basically, in road running, you have your cadence and you have specific rhythm, right, that you run with, and if that rhythm changes, then it becomes very difficult to get back to rhythm as well. Whereas in trail running, it's very unstructured, right? That is the
Mm,
part that I love. It's very unstructured. You jump through some of the rocks, you jump through some of the roots. There is a race called Rocky Raccoon in your backyard, right? So
mhm,
very rooty and all. So you have to go through lots of these extraneous factors. So there is no rhythm, but you have to get adjusted with that
mhm.
abnormal too. So, so coming back to your question, sorry, I forgot your question, Santosh.
Ankle strength.
Ankle strength, right? So, ankle strength. I do a lot of these exercises. I don't know the names of those exercises, but so there are 4 or 5 factors that I usually focus on. So one is definitely strength training. So strength training, it may not be weight training. It may be just your body weight as well.
Mm,
So strength training, flexibility, balance, and flexibility and balance could be yoga and Pilates,
mhm.
and then your diet and endurance. So these are the 5 things which I absolutely focus on, and I have spent quite a bit of time. As I said, I have been struggling with plantar fasciitis as well, and
Mm,
I try to correct my form, or I use insoles within my shoes. So in order to have my fascias as loose as possible, and my calves as loose as possible. So I wear compression socks as well.
Mm.
And similarly for ankle stability, I do keep my calves as loose as possible, my overall foot too. So it's not just about ankles, but it's the entire leg system, which you have to. So I usually roll on a ball, not on a typical foam roller, and then I do lots of ankle stability exercises to
Yeah.
along with strength training.
Yeah, that makes sense. Good tips there. And I also like the ball. I have I think it's a lacrosse ball that I have, and
Correct.
I once went to a physical therapist. He said use that for especially for my hamstrings. Um,
Right.
it really helps sitting on it and moving around. It really loosens up the hamstring. So yeah, those
It
are
works
great tips.
yeah, it works at very minute muscles. A lot of people use different ways for recovery. So they use those electrode simulations as well. That is another way. And there are a bunch of products out there in the market. There are Therabodies and Theraguns and some more as well, right? So there are, I mean, the entire fitness market has evolved so much
Yeah,
since last 4 or 5 years. There are
yeah,
multiple
yeah.
options.
Yeah, and then no, absolutely, and then you went on to do like what 40 plus ultras, right? In the last 4 5 years, you've been
I
killing
have,
it.
yeah, I finished 42 ultras now. Yeah.
Wow. So that's like what an average of three a year almost, right?
Yeah.
Almost
So I
five
think,
years.
yeah, most of my ultras came in 2017, 2018, 2019. 2016, I just got into ultras. So I think I got two or three ultras. But 2018, 2019. I mean, I just hooked onto ultras. Most of them are, of course, 50Ks.
Hmm.
I've done bunch of 100Ks, 50 milers, and some of them are easier, difficult. So, but very diverse set of races. And one of the reason that I wanted to move to Bay Area was trails as well, because Dallas definitely has trails, but it didn't have that kind of elevation as
Yeah.
we get in Bay Area, and Bay Area is like a mecca for all the trails. And after that, I just got into more and more ultras in order to learn more about different trail systems in Bay Area. I used to run ultras, and then I used to get to know about some of those trails. So that was the strategy that I used.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. There's the trail running, ultra running scene, especially among Desis, Indian Americans, there seems to be kind of thriving. So it looks like the Silicon Valley and ultras are like a very potent combination.
Yeah, I mean, you need to have something apart from your work as well, right? So, Bay Area, everybody's working so hard. So, you need to have something other than work that will keep you busy.
Yeah, yeah. And then you signed up for this, granddaddy of all ultras that you've done, which is the Cocodona 250. And I think you're probably the second person or third person I'm talking to who's done something of that magnitude, right? Hima and Niloy before you. 250 miles. That is just unimaginable. What what got you into that? What were you doing? Were you just sitting, looking at the wall, listening to some nice Kishore Kumar songs, and suddenly, wow, let me just do 250? How did it happen? Tell us about it.
Yes, that's quite interesting. So I had done a couple of 100 milers. One was the RDL, Rio del Lago 100 miler in Folsom, and the other one was Bear 100, which is in Utah, which is quite a tough 100,
Hmm.
mountain 100. So I thought, again, I mean, I had one of the DNF in 100 as well, wherein I went from just 100K to 100 miler, and I wasn't ready for that. So I usually I'm not so good at adapting. When I'm saying you need to adapt, and so that was the message to myself as well. I find it really hard in a very first race to adapt and see how I can basically go on in some of the difficult circumstances.
Hmm.
And in 100 miler, I mean, in marathons, you they call it as walls, right? So
Hmm.
you get stuck in wall, or you have to overcome a wall. Here in 100 milers, you have to go through tunnels, right? So there are lots of
Hmm.
such tunnels, and lots of those low points that you go through, and you still come out of those tunnels, and you finish those ultras. So I'm not trying to make it dramatic, but in some cases it's true. In some cases it's much easier as well. For some people, 100 milers are fairly easier. So I did this bare 100, and I was at around 70th mile. It was really cold. It was around 25 degrees or so, and it was raining, and I was sitting in that aid station for almost 1 hour, because my next aid station or next part was the highest point on the mountain. And I was really worried if because all my gear was totally soaked wet.
Hmm.
So I was thinking, how would I go on? Should I go on or not? And DNFing at that point was much more difficult, because it is at the river, and I would have had to wait for at least 3 4 hours. So I kept one of the strategy in my mind to just keep things on the fly, and don't make any decision at that point. You can
Hmm.
make decision later on, so just keep moving. So I just kept moving after that, and I finished that ultra. And I thought I can do longer distances, because that was like 35 hours 20 minutes of my time. And so that gave me a confidence to a level that I can go through lots of these really really low points,
Hmm.
wherein weather is not cooperating with you, or you're going through lots of trouble, right? So then one of my friend had signed up for Cocodona 250. That guy had done triple crown. So he has done Moab 240, Tahoe 200, and then Bigfoot 200 as well. So I had a lot of respect with through him, and I thought, let me try. I mean, let me see how it feels to go beyond 100 miler as well, because a lot of people kept talking about 200 miler, quite different than 100 miler. And in a typical 200 miler, you have to go through multiple nights, right? So I want to experience that.
Hmm.
In 100 miler, going through one night and another day was itself a enormous challenge for many, including me. But 200 miler, I just couldn't imagine how would I do without sleep for whatever 4 or 5 nights. And Cocodona was in fact much longer.
Hmm.
I believe this is the second longest race in US. The first one is 3,100 miles, so that is again a loop race that is out of my bounds. So that was something that I wanted to try. And the friend that I was looking forward to, he didn't come to Cocodona 250. I ended up going, and then I convinced one of my other running friend. He decided to join. I thought it would be a fun. I mean, going through 5 nights, and then I put together pretty solid training, not plan. I mean, I like that unstructured version of any training. So we went through very rigorous training, but that's what triggered my 250 mile. And I thought this would give me a very good challenge in terms of running.
Yeah. It's dangerous to be your friend. If you become Pradeep's friend, be ready to run 200 plus miles.
Not
Warning.
exactly. I love 100 milers as well.
Just kidding. So you talked about, you made an interesting point about training and unstructured training. So how do you know that you're getting ready? The advantage of structured training is obviously it's very scientific. There is a data behind it. Somebody's done it, so you're kind of just reusing somebody else's experience, and you kind of know at least psychologically that okay, I may be ready for this big, challenge. In an unstructured training that you're talking about, how do you know you're ready for this?
Yeah, so for 200 miler, I don't think there can be a structured training. You just can't cover the distance, or you just can't cover those huge aspects in terms
Mm,
of physical as well as mental training, right? For 200 miler, you just can't do another 200 miler. I
mm,
mean, you can go and do some fast packing, go for a week long or whatever, a month long Apple Chin Trail or JMTs. And as a matter of fact, a lot of folks who have done PCTR or JMT, they were there at Cocodona as well.
mm,
So for 200 miler, that was one of my aspect of training is you just can't prepare for 200 miler. So
mm,
I used most of my 100 miler training as well. So what I did was one is definitely your physical part of it, right? So how do you make sure you're ready physically? How can you get may not be 200 miles, but how do you get as much time on your feet as possible, right? It's not
mm,
about pace. It's not about time because I am more of a mid packer
mhm,
when it comes to ultras. So I wasn't too much worried about cutoffs, or I wasn't too much worried about pace because I thought from pace standpoint I would do fairly well. I was more worried about time on my feet and whether my legs would carry me for 200 or 250 miles or not. So
mhm,
physical was one aspect. Mentally, I have to be prepared. But again, I mean, you can do only so much from the mental preparation standpoint too. The couple of aspects would be sleep. Sleep is definitely one of the major challenge in any
mm,
200 plus miler. And another one was blisters, right? So how do you prevent blisters? Because this particular trail, Cocodona 250, goes from Sonoran Desert to Alpine Pines of Mount Eldon in Flagstaff, right? So it goes to a variety of trails. So I thought, and I usually get blisters even in 50 miles as well. So blister prevention, how can I do sleep management, and whether I can go without sleep after 2 nights or not. So that is what I wanted to check. So as part of training, I have a bunch of groups here. There were few folks who were training for longer ultras. So we did some back-to-back long runs. So 12 hours back-to-back, 12 hours on Saturday, 12 hours on Sunday, and most of the 50Ks on very steep vertical. So we focused on vertical as well. Vertical was another challenge. Even though this particular race was advertising close to 24,000 feet, but in
mm.
fact it was when I had imported that GPX file, it was showing 42 to 45
Wow.
k of word. So, and that wasn't easy. That wouldn't be a flat race. We wouldn't call it as a flat race. So we knew that there is significant vertical here. So I incorporated a lot of vertical training in my training. So basically, longer runs, back-to-back long runs.
Mm,
Your sleep management. We did a 48-hour run. So basically, we started on Friday after work hours when we were already tired. We started at 8 o'clock and we went on till Sunday 8 o'clock. So Friday 8 o'clock through Sunday 8 o'clock. That gave us a lot of good confidence. Another very good run that we did was 50 miles at Mount Diablo, covering almost 17,000 to 18,000 feet
mm,
elevation gain. So those two runs gave us pretty good confidence, and I knew, I mean, I could definitely withstand the physical pain. And of course, I mean, I had some of those issues when I had started training in December. I was going through the tendonitis, posterior tibial tendonitis. So I went through some of the physiotherapy sessions as well. So thanks to the physiotherapist who got me to the level of training. But I did wait for that. I mean, I straight away got into 45 miles trail run and then 50 Ks and so on and so forth. So
Wow.
and then of course, I mean, strength, flexibility, balance, all those things have to help you in terms of recovery as well as withstanding training too. So all those
Wow.
things definitely help.
Amazing. Amazing, Pradeep. I mean, 48 run. I mean, the fact that you did a 250 mile is amazing. That's one part. But the prep for it is not for the weak hearted, definitely. What you're talking about, 48-hour runs, leaving on a Friday evening, coming back on a Sunday. I mean, it's a huge amount of commitment. It's a huge amount of physical, mental commitment. Amazing. There's a lot of hard work that you guys have put in behind it. So what motivates you to do something like this? I mean, you could just sit back and do a half marathon and be happy and be healthy. And what pushes you to do these really extraordinary challenges?
Yes, I mean, first and foremost, when I had started running, that was mostly for health reasons, right? Or
Mm,
my brother said that, and then I just got into running. But then slowly it became a passion, right? It became passion, and I wouldn't call it as a drug, but you get addicted to running too. That was one
mm,
aspect. Second aspect is you think that, oh, you can do 50 Ks, you can do 50 milers, you can do all these 100 milers. So you definitely have something in you which can basically take you that far. So it gives you a lot of confidence, and that gives you even much more urge to achieve more, right? So I cannot be much faster. I mean, I can still improve on my marathon time, but for me, I think going longer, more
mm,
and more, and more of, I mean, more than all that, I think running is a journey. That is what I like most. When you said that 48 hour is too long, but when it's done with your friends and all the like-minded people, it becomes more like a journey, right? So the
mhm,
entire training part, I rather than race, I think I love training more than most of the races. So
mm.
that is more of a journey to me, and then you just get addicted to doing more and more.
Yeah, yeah. It's almost like what I'm hearing is, like a desire to keep growing. There's a continuous desire to explore new aspects of yourself. It's a mindset, right? In the sense that not everybody has that mindset. You seem to be driven by that, right? How far can I mean? Is this something? Are you like that in all aspects of your life, or is it like something that only in running you use this mindset? Do you take this mindset everywhere?
I tend to take that mindset in most of the places, and again, I mean, as I say, every successful thing comes with a sacrifice, right? I mean,
Mm,
you have to be driven for something. So it has become my passion.
mm,
Even in my professional life, let's say if I want to take up a higher role, I need to be ready to make that sacrifice, right? So, am I ready for
mm,
that? That's all matters.
mm.
Similarly, for running too, I have to make sacrifices. I have to go away from my family and do all those 12-hour training runs. So,
Yeah,
it all depends on how driven you are towards a particular goal. So, in not in all the cases, but in most of the cases, I try to improve myself and I try to be a better version of myself.
yeah. No, terrific. And how do you balance, like, you're in sales, in tech sales, and there's a lot of travel sometimes. There are pressures of work, of course, kids, marriage, family. How do you, you know how do you balance this and make sure you're still getting the training you need for this kind of efforts?
Yeah, I think sometimes it gets really tough. So from training standpoint, most of my training is on weekends. So I try to keep
Mm,
it on weekends. And fortunately, I have to make sure that my weekends are free. And sometimes, if work takes priority, so be it. But from family perspective, it definitely takes toll because you have to stay or you have to spend a lot of time away from
mm,
your family. So it definitely takes toll. But most of my training happens on weekend, and in some cases, whenever I get time, weekdays it's all. I try to take maybe an hour or 30 minutes out, and then I go for a quick run. If not, then I don't bother too much.
mm.
Weekday runs are absolutely fine, and you can do yogas or pilates or any strength training at any point of time. I mean, you don't need. A lot of people keep on telling me that I'm too busy to run or I'm too busy to take time out. I mean, it all depends on you, right? How you want to achieve that. So my work doesn't get affected, but I mean, there may be some effect, especially after a race or so. So I try to take 1 or 2 days off if I am really not into it. So, but otherwise, I try to balance all three aspects.
Yeah. And the race itself, the 250 mile, the Cocodona, how was it? What was did it end up? Did you? I mean, was it something you as per what you expected, or was it completely different from what you were
Yeah,
prepared for?
not certainly. I mean, if everything goes as per plan, then it would be that perfect, right? So for me, I don't think anything has ever gone to the plan. So first of all, I think I mean we like the aspect that it was an inaugural version, right? So nobody knew what's in store for us. So the entire version was absolutely new, and it was a point-to-point race. I love point-to-point races because you feel like you're going from point A to point B on foot, right? So you're covering that much of ground. So this was absolutely a new version. We didn't know. We knew that it was going to be hot, and most of my training um, happened during colder weather. So that part was definitely worrying me
Mm,
because I was absolutely away from hot weather. Another one was desert as well. Earlier, I had DNF'd at Bryce Canyon, so I knew how that sand and how that fine sand plays with your foot and blisters and so on. So from blister prevention standpoint, we were all prepared by taping our feet and all. So I wasn't too much worried about that aspect. But what I was worried was definitely heat. We didn't know how those trails were because that was absolutely unknown to us.
mm,
Nobody of us had run in Arizona. And then third aspect was sleep. So out of three of us, there were three of us who went from Bay Area together. So only one person had run 175 miles before. But two of us, Kaushik and me, we were absolutely new. So it was all unknown territory. So Cocodona, I would say, I mean, I ran with some of the bigger names like Jin Dykes, who is world record holder, who has run sub 3 marathon while he was more than 70 years old. So his comment was he has done Triple Crown as well, and his comment was Cocodona is by far the hardest double hando that I have seen. So it was definitely much harder race, and every day we were faced with a new challenge. So,
mm,
for example, um, when we started a race, the first day itself was touted as one of the most difficult day because there was supposedly 22 miles of gap between two aid stations. The
mm,
second and third aid station, there was 22 miles of gap. and temperature was going to be in 90s. Earlier, that's what they said, but then temperature was just in 80s, and they said you should carry at least 3 liters of water
Okay.
from aid station 2 to aid station 3. But I had carried almost 4 liters of water, and I would say 90, more than 90% of runners ran without or ran out of water.
Mm.
I think 6 or 7 miles to the third aid station. So people were carrying like 5 liters of water or 6 liters of water, and they still ran out of water. And we had to give water to other folks, and also it was definitely a tough day, even in 80s. I don't know what would happen in 90s or hundreds.
Mm.
So that was first day, second day, and again, I mean that put us into. And we had a little bit of a mismatch of a strategy as well. We took a lot of breaks. We thought it's a 200 mile and we should take it easy and all. And we took a lot of breaks, and that put us to the back of the pack.
Mm.
And we were fighting with cutoffs and all. And second day was absolutely different. Second day also, every day it got hotter.
Mm.
Temperature was going up at least 5 degrees every day. Fourth day was, I think, around 115 or 120 degrees. But second day, I mean, most of the aid station to aid station, those stretches were absolutely relentless. Just go through multiple hills, and there was no end to it. We were just thinking that this should end and we should get to some kind of food bonanza or something, right? So we just wanted to put end to all this suffering. So but every day was very different. Lots of different types of trails. So there are just rocks and rocks and rocks. So you can't even run some of those downhills too.
Mm.
So that gets a little bit of frustrating. And the more frustrating part was we didn't know any of it. So in some sections, you go through huge boulders, and you have to identify the trail just by white dots on those stones. So those boulders are like huge, and you have to go at the middle of the night. So if you miss those, then probably you will end up somewhere, and you wouldn't even know that there is a big lake besides that. I mean, while going through boulders, we didn't even see that because it was all night. And so it's all relentless, very different types of trail system, very hot weather, and then at night it was really cold. And then the last day was like full of hallucinations, and so I have taken bunch of trail naps. Most of our plans had gone awry because we couldn't follow any of our plans. Our timings were absolutely out of the park. So on the fourth day or so, when I was all alone, I usually don't take crew or pacers, but while one of my friend was insisting, I took crew, and then Hima and Pavan were there. So that was absolutely a good decision that I made. Otherwise, aid stations weren't that good. We were expecting good food, but we didn't get that good hot food as well. And all those hundreds, 200s, they're all about eating, eat and
Mm.
run. So that is the strategy. So last fourth and fifth day, they were full of hallucinations. I was going back and forth, considering that, oh, I must have missed marker, so I might be on a wrong course, or one of that stretch was really long, so it took me a long time. And after that, I was my mind was playing with me that you don't need to do that last stretch, wherein you have to go through Mount Eldon, which is like at around 9,000 feet. And my mind was telling me, you will get buckle. You don't have to go through that stretch. You just go directly to finish. So I just couldn't focus on that. So I took help from one of the other runner and his pacer, and then I went with them instead of going alone in that night stage. But overall, fantastic experience playing with all those problems, and how you manage all those problems on the fly and then still keep going. So it
Yeah.
was wonderful experience.
Awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
That's amazing. That's amazing. No, no easy. That's not an easy feat, and that's amazing. Yeah. So what's next for you?
Next one, I don't know. There are some bucket list races that we have. So one of the race is called Tor de Gia.
Hmm.
It's in Italy, and that's another 200 miler. But it's very tough. It has around 80,000 feet gain, so that's what attracts us. All the vertical and elevation gain. So you will hear all that elevation in terms of feet and meters through your ultra running friends. But that race is on our cards, and UTM is also another race that is my bucket list race. But qualifying for UTMB and Western States, it just takes forever. So hopefully one day.
Yep. As you were telling me about your Cocodona 250 experience, and you were telling me about temperatures going up, I said, "There you go again. You love to run in hot races."
Yeah, exactly, exactly. I mean, I
That's your
just ended
exp-
up running in hot weather, but I didn't enjoy it as much because since now I've moved to Bay Area and it's much cooler.
Yeah, yeah. Beautiful. That's beautiful, Pradeep. Thanks for sharing that. So I want to move on to the next part of our conversation. We have a sense of your journey so far, what you've done with some of the big races. I want to move to a more lighter part of our conversation, which is a fun Q&A round.
Mhm.
And so, are you ready for that?
Make sure your questions are easy.
As I tell people, it's not the Karan Johar rapid fire, so it'd be easy questions. Won't put you in the spot. No
That's
control,
good.
not put you in controversies. So let's go for that.
Thank you.
Okay, these are very simple, easy questions, but let's go for it. Ready?
Mhm.
So first one, what's your favorite junk food?
I love hash browns,
Hash browns. All right.
and French fries.
Do you eat a lot of them, or just
No, I
when you
yeah,
finish?
I eat mostly during races, and sometimes we get to go as well. So usually within a month or so.
Okay. I don't know. Are you a teetotaler?
Not really, not
Okay.
really.
So I have a question in that regard. So what's your spirit of choice?
Um, I uh, I like Irish whiskey.
Hmm.
So mostly Jameson is my choice. I like wine as well, but Irish whiskey by far the best.
Wow. I've never had Irish whiskey. Is it distinct from the American and the Scott whiskies?
Definitely. I mean, it's quite different than Scotch.
Hmm.
And American whiskies, I haven't tried much. I don't like bourbons.
Okay. Okay. All right. That's a good one. The first time I'm asking this question, so it's a unique answer.
Yeah.
Okay. A song that uplifts your moods.
Wow. I have. I usually listen to Indian songs,
Hmm.
Hindi songs. There are a bunch of songs. I mean, I like lots of newer songs. But while running, I don't listen to songs. So that doesn't do much during running. But while I'm not running, I like Pashmina. I don't know the wordings right now, but I like Pashmina. I have a bunch of favorite songs as well. Some of the older songs too.
Yeah. Pashmina is the Amit Trivedi's composition, correct?
Correct. Correct.
Correct. Yeah, I love that too. It's a beautiful song. Beautiful song. Okay, next one. What's the worst thing of being an ultra runner?
You just get too dirty. So at the end of a race, or even during the race, you just go through dirt, right? That's what you said earlier. You go through so much of dirt that you don't like hugging anyone, or I find it very hard if some of my friends come afresh and they say, "Oh man, you did so well." But I try to stay away because I'm usually so dirty. So I think that is one part. Otherwise, I love ultra running. I mean, I love every aspect of ultra
Yeah,
running.
yeah. Of course. We know the good parts. We wanted to know the dirty part.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. The last one, which is my favorite question, which I ask all my guests, which is if a movie were made of you, A, what genre would it be? And B, who would you like to play you?
uh, Maybe Pansing Tomar. It would definitely be related to sports, and of course running. But I don't know. I mean, I like anything to do with running passion. So if some heroes are related to passions, and very mediocre or average people who have transformed their lives
Mhm.
through running. So something on that sort. But it would certainly be sports genre.
Yeah. And who would you like to play you? You got to pick an actor.
Oh, I got to pick an actor. Okay. That actor is now no more. His name is Sushant Singh Rajput.
Okay. Yeah. All right, you did well. Pradeep, on the fun round, we got to learn a few more things about you, and thanks for that. So we're kind of coming to an end of our conversation. It was a fantastic conversation. Learned a lot in your journey and what you have learned, and thanks for sharing that with us. And kind of wrapping up here, is there any message you want to give to the viewers as a wrap up comment before we call it in?
No, I think I would just say one thing: trust in yourself, and
Mm,
just don't just listen to yourself. I mean, we all have so much of capability in ourselves, and that we don't know
mm.
that we can go much farther. So just trust in yourself and do wonders.
Yeah,
That's all I can
beautiful.
say.
No, that's a beautiful, beautiful message, and your life, your journey in running definitely reflects that. Hey, Pradeep, thanks a lot for making time. I'll let you have enjoy the rest of the afternoon on this Sunday, and we'll stay in touch.
Thank you very much, Santosh. Thanks for getting my story out. Really
Thank
appreciate
you.
it.
Thank you.
Have a good
Bye.
one.